My name is Tommy Jameson, and I've served as the preservation architect for Black River Technical College's Project REACH, Researching Early Arkansas Cultural Heritage. The 1828 Rice Upshaw House was the first of 4 log structures restored by the college in rural Randolph County, Arkansas, with funding from the Arkansas Natural and Cultural Resources Council. The restoration presented a real challenge for our multidisciplinary research and restoration team. We knew from the beginning that this structure was not the dwelling house for Reuben Rice and his family. They had arrived in the 11-Point River Valley from Tennessee in 1812. Their early arrival has been well documented. Dendrochronology studies, or tree ring dating, conducted by Dr. Dave Staley of the University of Arkansas Tree Ring Laboratory, had confirmed the family tradition that this structure was built in 1828. As with many log structures, the basic architectural principle that form follows function was an essential consideration when investigating the Rice Upshaw House. Builders of early log structures created floor plans that added door and window openings according to the function to the structure it was to serve. We realized from the beginning that the floor plan and openings of this structure were not consistent with the typical floor plans for dwelling houses. The original log partition, a rare find in present-day vernacular architecture, was positioned by the 1820 builders to create a small side room no bigger than a present-day walk-in closet. But why? Walk-in closets were not a feature found in early log structures. We wondered what it was telling us. After removing layers of alterations and getting down to the log framework, the structure was elevated on steel beams, allowing for evaluation and rebuilding of the pier foundation and chimney base. And it gave archaeologists from the Arkansas Archaeological Survey a chance to excavate under and around the house. Historic trade specialist Ronnie Walker from Black River Technical College describes some of the discoveries.
You remember seeing it up in the air when the archaeologists were here. We took down this fireplace and they were under the house digging, and also one of their tasks was to open up around the footer, the original stone footer. And they can tell by the composition of the soil whether it's been disturbed or not around it, or whether it was built in place. So they investigated that, and sure enough, that was the original footer. He says, it's not adequate, you know. That's not exactly what he said, but he said it's not adequate to support a 2-story fireplace. It would be good for a single-story one, but not for a 2-story.
The construction team included the highly experienced log craftsman Eric Sammons, who carefully inspected every log in the structure as they made assessments for log replacement.
Then we had our log specialist doing the restoration, and he's checking everything. I mean, he gets right in tune with the craftsman that built the house, and he's noticed some funny things with the logs as he gets on up. He noticed when he got above this floor line where these joists are more to stem, the next logs up, they're a little bit different dimension. They're a little bit, they're even chamfered on the bottom where they come up. They're a little bit bigger and longer for some strange reason. And he noted that, but he kept working. And then he got up and exposed the roof and rafters, and we could see that it had been taken all apart. It had modern nails. It had the pegs there. Things weren't lined back up, so we knew that it had been disassembled. Then he also found the numbers on the tails of all the rafters, because when it was open to the light, we could see those Roman numerals down on the toe. Normally they're up at the peak where it's put together. But apparently when they disassembled this thing, they numbered all those rafters where they could put them back in place. So Eric says, you know, this was not a 2-story structure.
We then understood the reason the staircase had been added later. The realization that the structure had originally been a 1-story structure was the aha moment. Everything fell into place.
The stairway was another significant place. And then when we got to the point we had to remove it, well, that definitely told the story, because we could see the method they took to cut it out and make the hole for it and all. We could tell it was something that was done later. It wasn't done when the structure was originally built.
Family tradition had always held that originally the house had a puncheon floor. Such flooring was typical in rural vernacular structures of the early 19th century, but little did we think we'd find evidence of it. Several original sleepers were found when the later flooring was removed, and they had holes where the pegs had been used to fasten down the puncheons. With that knowledge, we proceeded to install a replica puncheon floor.
Kind of struggling with the idea of how to do the interpretation at that point, because we so much wanted to do that territorial period with this. And what we ended up doing was somewhat of a hybrid with the situation here, with the history, and we chose to do this room in 1828 with a puncheon floor. The mercantile or trading store period. And of course, as soon as you walk through that door, because we had to have the stairway, we were going to interpret also the mid-1840 period. We got the second floor, so we have to have the stairway, so we went back with the 1840 floor, the stairway. So you're leaving the 1828 period when you walk out of this room into that one to the 1845 period. And it was so significant. I mean, both histories are so significant, we had to interpret that.
Knowing that the original 1820 structure had been altered, then the unique floor plan even fell into place. Reuben Rice and his sons were documented as merchants even prior to the time this structure was built. Thus, we feel that this structure served as a store or shop for the rural trading center known throughout the region in the 1820s and 1830s as Reuben Rice's. They had always produced fine textiles as part of their commercial endeavors, so it may have served the function of a loom house as well. In the mid-1840s, Reuben's son, Thomas Blackman Rice, married, and this structure became the home for at least 5 generations of his descendants. The 1840s alterations to the structure were made before Reuben and his wife Lydia passed away in the early 1850s. They lived to see the birth of their granddaughter, Lydia, daughter of Thomas, and this shop transformed into a dwelling house. Lydia married Andrew Jackson Upshaw, and by 1900 the structure had changed once again. That year Lydia gathered her own family and the family dog for this photograph in front of the house that was by then known as the Upshaw place. Because of the generous donations of the descendants of the Rice and Upshaw families, cultural studies of this house and family will continue.
With grateful acknowledgement to Dorothy Jean Upshaw and the late James Upshaw and their children, Don Upshaw, Ann Gillen, and Michelle Andrews, for their inspiring vision in preserving the Rice-Upshaw house, for their unselfish act of trust and faith in giving this treasure to Black River Technical College for restoration enduring the history and heritage embodied by this humble structure.
What we have learned here has and will continue to enrich the story of Arkansas's built culture.